Welcome to Nerdarchy for Nerds by Nerds. I am Nerder Doug, and I am going to transform your boring Monday night into a lively discussion with this nerd.
How you doing? Nerdarchy Ted. Nerdarchy Ted, how are you doing this fine and lovely evening?
Good.
My brain is out of sorts.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, you'd said you had a busy day when we had our weekly kickoff meeting this morning, and here we are 3 hours later. Chilling.
Yeah, my work life has had all kinds of issues for the better part of the last month. So I wish that would transform back into regular reality for me.
Well, I'm sure it will. And it looks like there's a lot of people already here today, just chatting away already before we even get started. That's cool to see. Welcome. Yeah, you proposed this topic, which is a great one because it's so broad, and also, I mean, there's just we could probably talk all day about all the things that can transform in D&D, just like right out of the books alone, right. Which we usually go far beyond. So,
you've got right off the bat, transformation. I think of Tensor's transformation, a fabulous spell, allows you to do a number of things that wizards don't typically get to be able to do. And like, there is the mental chess of what can I acquire? What can I do to allow, full use of this spell?
Is that what made you propose this topic?
No. I had had a discussion with you about, lycanthropes.
Oh, yeah.
Their transformation process.
Sure.
And that led me to, okay, I think at some point in time, I think that's a good topic to kind of get into.
Yeah.
Not just lycanthropy, but all the other things that do have, different manifest forms.
Like you were just saying with Tensor transformation, it's funny, like, in a lot of our videos, and like the homebrew magic item ones too, especially but like anytime there's anything that like has to deal with getting armor on you, so I was like, oh, can you use that with Tensor transformation? Just whatever it is. It's just like a little Easter egg of D&D.
Yeah, Dave's thing is like, to cast contingency Tensor's transformation for like when the armor is officially on you, the spell goes off.
Yeah. Which always begs the question, is it like intentionally kludgy like that, where it's just like, if you can find a way around that, then you make full use of it, it's great.
I imagine it has to be. It has to be like, we don't have any items that make this supremely easy, but you're playing the super smart wizard. I want you to be creative. You figure it out.
Unless you're already, like, if you have proficiency in an armor, you can cast in it, right? Isn't that the deal? Mm-hmm. Okay, I was just making sure. I should have like a brain fart there. I was like, is that how it works? But yeah, like, unless you're a pure wizard or you took some feat along the way.
Right.
In which case, then at that point, too, it's just like, well, if I already could wear plate armor, then...
What does it matter? That aspect of that spell means nothing to me.
Yeah, there's a lot of funny things like that.
It's kind of like multi-classing, fighter barbarian. Once you get to 5th level in both, that doesn't do anything for you.
Or like a lot of options where it's like meant, clearly like meant to sync up with like a fighter or something. And it's like, it gives you proficiency in weapons. Like, well, I get all those anyway. So that doesn't do anything.
So what immediately jumps at you when you hear transformation?
Probably just the fact, like, actually, honestly, my first thought was how often it's just used like suddenly to kind of like break state as a DM, like somebody transforms, like whether it's a lycanthrope, like you said, or, just anything, like something just transforms like that in front of the players or characters just to like shake things up. Or at least in my games, I do that all the time.
So I think just in the very nature, transformation is a state of change.
Absolutely.
Whenever you have that state of change, something drastic is going to happen. A lot of times you're going to go from an exploration or from a social into a combat. But sometimes it's a combat that is going to be essentially taken to the next level. If you want to, get into a nerdy aspect without, doing any campaign reveals and that kind of stuff, literally the Dragon Ball Z characters can transform and go to another level of fighting power,
Sure.
within the show. It's been a long time since I've
Like
watched.
20th level paladins. I think that's sort of like a staple of that class, right? In 5e.
Sure.
I mean, all the 20 capstones are like you just become something else, or
Right.
You embody your oath.
The literal avatar state for that class.
Yeah. You're embodying your oath. That's pretty sweet.
Whether you're actually taking on, a specific divine power, or just you yourself become the literal manifestation of what those oaths mean. You just become something more. And holy crap, the amount of power that you can do with it.
Yeah, man, paladins are pretty awesome. I mean, and not just because they can smite or whatever, but it's like just thematically in 5e, and like we were saying those things. It's like pretty awesome capstone, just like both thematically and mechanically, they're all incredible.
But the other thing that I kind of think of is the transformation over the course of a campaign. Not only from the PC side, but the NPC side as well.
Sure.
From the player standpoint, like characters are supposed to be on a journey, not only of the campaign itself and doing whatever they do, but they are going to be a different person from where they were when they started out.
I like to think so. I mean, I try to, I think you do as well, like try to put yourself in the character's shoes and think like, well, how would they really feel about this? And sort of like just help it inform your role playing and your decision making for sure.
When you have the ability to be like, all right, this is where I'm starting, and maybe you have some kind of threads thrown out there as to where you think you might go, but there are times that something happens and you go, nope, I'm going that way instead. Whether you decide to pick up a religion, abandon a religion, change your religion, whether you decide to make a drastic change in your alignment. I mean, there's so many different ways that you can literally just go somewhere else.
It could be so subtle, and even to you as a player, just something you note too. So I'll give you an example this is from a video game, but I think it's pertinent to D&D too. So, I've been playing Red Dead Redemption a lot.
Yep.
And, it just really has a fantastic story, and, you're like an outlaw and stuff, blah, 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 blah. But, at one point I had a bunch of money, and I was at the general store looking through the catalog, and there was like a really nice looking outfit, and it was called the Dewberry, which was the name of the town. So it was kind of like reminiscent of that. And I was like, I like that. And I bought it. And then when I went back to my outlaw camp, like the NPC characters were like, what are you trying? Like they actually had like spoken dialogue, like, what are you trying to fit in or something like that, with these people. And I was trying to play like an honorable playthrough because, it's just more fun to me and cool to be like a good guy and stuff. And it was cool art because you're like a real a-hole and, to like just kind of become more heroic. And I was thinking to myself, like just as a player, I'm like, well, yeah, I kind of do, because it's like, since like I've been helping people and stuff, it's like I've made a bunch of money, and it's kind of funny narratively because they're like, we just need money to get out of here. Like if we just had a few $100, I'm like, I got like $5,000 in my satchel right now. Like, what do you, why don't I rob a train? Yeah. But anyway, so it just made me think like it kind of like stuck in my mind the whole game. It's just like, it's not. That wasn't like part of the story, but to me as a player, it was just like, wow, I just was like, oh, I like these clothes, and like all these, rough and tumble people are just like giving me side aisles. I'm just like, well, I do want to fit in. It's like nobody's trying to kill me. I'm not getting run out of town and stuff. So I don't know. It's just interesting in that way of like just me as a player and the character kind of like transformed in that way. It's just like,
sure. Yeah, and
that can happen in your games too. It might just be something you as a player happens, and you're like, I don't, my character kind of notes that that's weird, or made you think of something a different way.
I look at the relationship, and like I've might be slightly off topic from the from transformation, but like the relationships of player to player versus character to character are interesting. Yeah, I had seen something shared in a Facebook group once where essentially like the gaming group eventually welcomed one of their people, one of the players' significant others into the group after they had been gaming together for a long time. And, undoubtedly, or whatever word you want to use here, the people who are already dating or already married out of game, they've gotten to this habit that every time they play a campaign together, they start off, not knowing each other. And then over the course of the game, they wind up falling in love and what have you. And, the one person who shared it was like, this is kind of cool to watch them essentially fall in love over and over again.
Oh yeah, that is neat. That's pretty cute. I like that.
So relationships are a bit of a transformation. So it's not much of a stretch.
Go
ahead.
No, I was going to say, speaking of characters transforming, just recently in our little Nerd Tuesday night game group Discord, we talked about our next game after Zoo Mafia, returning to the OG Nerdarchy live crew with those bastards who not only transformed a lot through that campaign. It's been a long time since we played, and I've thought a lot about Bent and just like what I would like to do with him from here and how much he changed. So I'm looking forward to playing that game again.
Galason went through a pretty major transformation.
Yeah.
I mean, I started off with that, absolute D&D trope of, the high charisma person that wants to sleep with everybody. And like, there was that little nugget near the end of like, yeah, that's not what he's looking for anymore. Like finding the connection of siblings, and actually it was more the connection with the siblings than actually finding his father that actually.
Oh, for sure. That was like kind of like the theme of that campaign to me. It was just like, we're on this quest to do this thing. And then it was like basic classic. It was like the journey more than the destination. When you get there, it's just like, I don't really care about this. I just glad we all met each other. And there's probably more of us out there.
And that's kind of my hope.
Yeah.
But Sin did have that vision or that dream, and he still has that little shard of a mirror that Dave's character broke. That he's looking for. Forget his sorcerer's powers, forget, the quest for glory. Like he's got this vision of a farm and a couple of kids, somewhere in his life that he might find. So that's a scenario.
That was like a pivotal moment in that campaign, because I didn't look in any of the mirrors. Like Vent wasn't interested in that at all. It's like, nope. I don't care what some magic thing's going to show me a passable thing. It's like, I'm following my destiny, and, it's like, the hell with that stuff.
Yeah.
I remember sitting there thinking to myself too, though, like as a character, it was kind of like important too, because I thought, well, there's that part of him that maybe does doubt his own confidence in this quest. And it's like, I don't want to see something that makes me doubt that more. Like, what if I see something where we're not together or something, and it's like, So that was like a, notable for not participating for me. But yeah, that was cool. Man,
well, I mean, that's sometimes you gotta make the character choice.
Yeah, it transformed me.
Yeah. So like, I look, but you could also look at it, as I kind of mentioned a while ago, is the transformation from the NPC side. Whether you talk. Turning somebody who was an enemy or neutral at best into an actual ally, or going the other way, finding out that an ally was actually an enemy, or you've done something and now you've earned an enemy. Like these kind of things have the ability to like become so much a larger part of the story that like we've kind of gotten into the habit of like purposefully doing things to give DMs fuel to use against us.
I would say use with us. That's a better way of putting it, right? Yeah, because I totally know what you mean. But, probably because we're all DMs and we play with a lot of people that, most people that we play with also run games to some degree.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like an unspoken courtesy though too, because it's like, well, as a DM, it's fun to have recurring characters. I don't want all the NPCs to be like have no name, or you never see them again, or just somebody that died or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. So it's fun as a DM for the players to give you opportunities to use those recurring NPCs and watch them transform over time. So for sure, big time.
So one of the things that I'm always trying to learn as a DM. a bit of a transformation of my own personal nature.
Sure.
Taking advice from others, watching other streams, and things that people tell me, hey, you did well with this particular game. I try to bring that back. So when I ran the Dungeons and Delving game, you guys enjoyed actually interacting with the other NPCs.
Oh yeah.
That were there and establishing your own relationships and ties and what have you. And some of the things that I put out there, like, it wasn't really reacted upon, while others, you guys kind of made that whole thing that I said of like, you made a transformation of what this relationship was going to be. And that very much determined how the rest of the campaign went, and very much applies to what will eventually come next. Should you guys decide when it's my turn to sit in the seat again, what happens next?
Oh yeah, that was a great part of that campaign. And boy, what a challenge as a DM too. I mean, a lot of NPCs with distinct personalities and names, and just looks, and I mean, did a masterful job. I don't remember them all now, but at the time I remember like, oh yeah, of course, like that's that guy on this team, and it was very cool. I would have been if I set out to do that, I would be super intimidated. Be like, okay, like every other session, there's just no combat and just all like talking and stuff. It's like, oof, man, that's a challenge. But so kudos to you.
Well, thank you. But from that, with my untraditionally arcane, like I kind of looped some of that back in with them always going back to Wizard Citadel, and I made characters for them to interact with, essentially with the masters. And if you haven't, if you're out there watching, and you enjoy watching, 5e gameplay, and you want to check out the Untraditionally Arcane, there's a playlist on both this channel as well as the Nerdarchy live channel. You can go, check out and do as you want with. But we're up to episode 14. A lot of fun there.
Have you done transmutation yet? Just in case people are wondering, Untraditionally Arcane is an all wizard party where they're all traditional magical school subclasses.
Yes, none of the 5 players are of the 8 schools of magic as their wizard tradition.
Yeah.
So we've got a Beardomancer, an Onomancer, a
Blade Singer,
Order of the Peacock, a Blade Singer, and an Order of the Scribe.
That's right.
So
very cool stuff.
A lot of fun.
Anyways, sorry.
And I dropped a huge cliffhanger at the end of episode. So really looking forward to getting back to that game, which we have to schedule and find out when everybody's free next. But it was a bit of a doozy. They they were a different type of challenge this time, and they wound up seeing memories, or what was a scene of illusion.
Oh, that's right. It was
extracted as like illusions or memories, but they don't know whether what they faced was a real memory or whether it was like a twisted memory. So like some aspect of it wasn't true.
That's pretty intricate.
I wound up coming up with memories for all of the 8 wizard masters that they had met, and had each player give me a 2 to 3 memories.
Oh, they were in their mentors' memories?
No, in their own memories, or the wizard masters from the tower.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Of the 8 schools.
Right. That's cool.
So, every time they failed their save, they would roll a d6, 1, 2, 3 on the masters, or 1, 2, or 4, 5, 6 on the players, and then I would have them roll the appropriate die. And they would experience this memory either from their own eyes or from like an outside perspective, based on what the scene kind of dictated. And I figured out that like who the memories were, and the players were like, all right, I need to go back and watch and get more details, because that was really interesting.
Yeah, that's cool.
They weren't realizing what was going on at the time. And it wasn't until like they kind of talked and shared what they saw, they're like, wait a second, that color, and that corresponds to the race of that guy. Holy crap.
Has has the experience of running a campaign that's all single class and particularly wizards transformed your DMing perspective at all? Like giving any insights into like, I never, because we've talked about it, made videos, but like you're actually doing it now. So I'm curious.
So it has definitely taught me about certain types of players. Literally every single person who made a wizard character is like, well, I'm not taking Draconic because everybody's going to have Draconic. So speak Draconic.
Okay.
Which to me, like, that's like the staple wizard language.
Yeah, and the other thing is like, yeah, but you can all talk to each other in Draconic too. That's a benefit.
So I'm like, all right, what am I going to do about this? Because like to me, like that's almost a staple. Somebody in a campaign needs to speak dragon.
Yeah, I find languages really interesting in my games as well. I know you do too.
Yeah.
Like just playing around with those, it's like just something simple like that has led to many an interesting scenario in my games for sure.
But having a group of all wizards generally means you've got the lowest hit point pool, no healer, generally low ACs. You really have to be careful about combat because it's easy to just swarm and put things down. Like you have to be touch and go with your combat, because if not, bad stuff's gonna happen.
Yeah, I remember watching the first episode of that though, and I really did get the distinct like vibe, and I don't know if it was just because of like, I'm not certain, but how much you guys like playing stuff, but like all the characters really did to me seem like this is what like nerdy wizards would be like on an adventure. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, they're capable and stuff, but they're still just like nerds who are like wanting knowledge and like probably don't want to, intentionally go into like a dangerous looking area and stuff and rightly so. It's like, we're really smart. There should be a better way for us to figure out this than like, let's just go right into the dark hole and you know what I mean?
Yeah, none of them talked to each other about what they were like planning role playing wise. It was just like, all right, I'm making this type of thing.
So that's pretty cool. That kind of suggests that just the overall like mechanics just lead to that experience, and like probably all wizard players like to some extent are like that. But it's like, well, they're all like that. Like,
well, so like when you take into account, like, all right, Robin is playing a blade singer.
Yeah.
That character is going to be the most combat driven of them. But at the end of the day, Chess is still a wizard.
Yeah.
And act accordingly. Where Ordo Wonderbeard,
like the magic of the blade is wonderful and all, but when you're getting like, attacked by like 3 ogres and stuff or whatever, it's just like, okay. Now, my life's in danger.
But Ordo Wonderbeard, fully dives into the beardomantic,
oh yeah,
of his character, and
so inspiring. I love that character.
I do as well. I mean, they're great, but there's always going to be the love of beardomancy, with me. So I gotta say, Ordo is awesome.
Mm-hmm. He's even got his own spells.
He does indeed.
Does he have those in your game?
He just developed one just recently, and they haven't had a chance to level up just yet because they haven't made it back to the tower, even though they did just finish the arcane vessel.
Yeah, I think I cast both of those in Ashes of Ardor campaign at one point or another.
Yeah, he really enjoyed those spells. I will.
As did I.
I will point out that we're not quite at 8:30 yet, but I will be announcing the giveaway of the extra giveaway tonight for sponsored by Easy Roller Dice.
Oh man, yeah, they had so many cool things in that.
So I've got that to give out. I've got the name.
Was that just for the heck of it, or was it to promote a particular part of?
They contacted me and said, "Hey, I want to do an extra giveaway. What do you want? How do you want to do it? What do you want to do?" I'm like, "Well, if you send it here, I can show it off. Pull out a name and send it out there and see what happens."
Well, I just scrolled down to check something, and it's worth mentioning that's pertinent that we have a whole page over on the website. There's a link in the description for it's called the Partner and Deal page. It just has all of the people we have partnerships with and all their promo codes, and including Easy Roller Dice, which I believe is like 10% off your whole order. So if you want to click that and check it out and get a bunch of deals on nerdy stuff, yeah, and beard oil too, I think.
Yes.
Recently.
Well, technically, I believe Easy Roller Dice and Artesius Man are by the same company. So.
Oh, that is okay. I didn't realize that. That's sweet.
Yeah, so get yourself some beard oil and use your own beardomancy.
Transform your scraggles into a shiny, good-smelling beard.
Indeed.
Have you done transmutation yet in that campaign?
I don't think we've gone there yet. Let's see here. Let me quick.
Sure. While you're looking that up, so I forget what video. Oh, you remember the video where somebody asked you guys for advice on Mind Flayer thralls?
I remember.
Like what to do when it like what? Yeah, it was a while ago, but so the post on the website that goes along with that video. I wrote from the like a campaign idea of just like, well, what if like the only monsters in your campaign setting are shapeshifters? And so like I was just like, I'm gonna find out them, and I listed them all, and like just kind of by tier, and like, well, what would you be facing, and what would that story be like? It was pretty interesting. I don't remember all the details, but it's like I like doing posts like that because there's so much D&D content out there.
Oh, sure.
It's like if you just pick like one thing and be like, well, what's everything that's like that? Like whether it's a monster or, just focusing on something and, is interesting to me.
So
temples, I use the Cloak of the Fire Rat as inspiration for the art for that, because like as soon as I saw that, I'm like, that just looks like a cultist robe of like the cult
completely.
of the Fire Rat.
Yeah, and Kim did a great job on that. So
yeah. Is that Kim?
I believe so. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's nice.
I've got that document open. I can go and look. We
got two cloaks that are animal head themed. We have a lot of cool cloaks in Mage Forge.
Yeah. But Cloak of the Fire Rat is very much Kim.
Yeah. There's so many cool magic items.
there's a lot of stuff. And all right, since you brought it up, I will say that out of the 250 magic items, we are down to like just about 30 pieces of art left to do. We are steamrolling ahead, and I'm pretty thrilled with the progress we're making on that. But to answer your question, no, they have not gone.
Okay.
Arcane Vessel of Transmutation, which is what is referred to as the Transmutation Core, or for the layman, the changing room or the changing chamber. Earth is a chamber that normal rules of life do not work. It has been called many names, such as the changing room or the changing chamber. Arcanists tend to refer to as the Transmutation Core. The core is represented by an entire cavernous room.
That should be pretty fun to play around with as a DM.
I
can just whatever I want to happen.
Well, I mean, to be fair, a lot of things have very much been of like, all right, how can I focus on this particular thing?
Yeah. Well, that's a great fun. I mean, that's probably awesome as a DM and as the players to just like with the illusion stuff or whatever. It's like it's just all about this thing and like how many cool things you can do with illusions or transforming things for sure. But something like that, and illusion, I suppose, to some extent too. It's like, you can just kind of like, you have like limitless possibilities as a DM that makes sense because it's like, well, I mean, it's just pure transmutation magic. You can just change it to anything, anytime.
So they had gone right from going to the Chaos Wastes where the Summoning Sigil was, which clearly conjuration.
Mm-hmm.
Threw them for a loop. It wasn't like, fight a whole bunch of things.
Yeah.
Stuff was happening.
Yeah, you've been real clever about that too, which is of course fun. It's not just like go here, beat the monster, take the thing, leave. Like they're all like unique challenges.
And then they were like, we could go do Illusion, because it happened to fall on the first session of Illusion, because usually they're broken up into 2 sessions per thing.
Okay, and they get to choose which one they pursue.
Yes.
Oh, that's a pretty. I never realized that, but that's almost like a streamlined West Marches for a specific purpose. You get back here and you're fine.
It's a choose your own adventure.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet.
Go fix magic and discover more things about yourself and discover more things about the world. And but they had gone from the chaos waste and everything just happening to all kinds of wonkiness to the Feywild to go deal with Illusion. The session happened to be session number 13 on Friday the 13th.
Oh my gosh.
So I was like, all right, I'm going to play with fear. Have fun. And then there was, when I originally wrote the character that was interacting with them with session 13, he went through a transformation a couple of days before I ran session 14. So, I won't give any spoilers, but it was a holy crap moment of like, all right, I'm going to do this. Throw caution to the wind, and nobody saw it coming, and I had a blast. All the players had a blast. So
awesome.
Looking forward to keep that story going.
Yeah, for sure.
We've hit 8:30, so I'm going to do the thing.
Sure.
So
do it.
As we, kind of stated that, Easy Roller Dice is awesome, whether it's your first set of dice or your 1 million set of dice, Easy Roller Dice for all your dice rolling needs. I got a box here. It's got a very cool dice tray with a wolf on it. You get yourself a corresponding dice cup, which also has the wolf on it.
Oh,
yourself 2 sets of dice, 1 metal, 1 not. And the part that I'm jealous about, because I don't have one and I want one. It is one of these, they call it a dice storage case with magnetic lid, and it says shiny, sparkly math rocks.
Is it wood or what's it made of?
I imagine it's kind of like the leatherette kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
I haven't opened it to know exactly what it looks like.
Is untouched by man.
But it's possible that somebody put it in a box. Done by machine.
It was a Rube Goldberg device that it wound up in there.
It's entirely possible. But I made mention that, last week that we were doing this, I gave every week to kind of get their names put in the proverbial hat. And that is going to be Hector Guzman.
Okay.
I don't know which
name sounds familiar. I think I've seen that person in chat before.
So I have not yet reached out to them, but I will email out tonight/tomorrow. Congratulations. We do at least 1 giveaway a month, here on the channel to get sent out. And there's 2 ways to do it, to get your name into it, whether you support us on Patreon or whether you subscribe to our newsletter. We add all those names in and pull it out for the hat. I do a random number generator through the Excel spreadsheet. But we also use that same list to, do the Nerdarchy fan game, which I did the announcement last week. I believe it's
Dave's month. I think it was Dave.
Yeah, it's Dave's month. I read all.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because he said he's like, I already emailed it.
Yeah, he already contacted. So we tend to do the last Sunday of the month. So we'll see.
It's weird that there's people chatting in chat, but they're asking questions to each other. So with something I was going through, because I was like, I didn't want to miss anything. If somebody anything, I think this is to each other, but there's a classic, Oh, it does say add everyone. What is your favorite class?
I've said it over and over again. I'm cleric. That's where I go. There's so many different ways to play a cleric, both from personality, stat placement, and like literally your divine choice, your domain greatly changes what type of character that is. Like I can be a healer, I can be a combat person, I can be a sneaky person, I can be a magic-y person. I can fulfill almost all the roles as just a cleric.
Mm-hmm. I would say my favorite class is whichever one I'm playing right now, because I just like playing games with fun people. Honestly, I mean, it's like I've had so much fun playing all of the classes over the years and other editions. In 5e, I've played all the classes multiple times, and just depends on who you're playing with and everything like that.
And
but I guess if somebody, like forced to, like, I had to pick something, I'm gonna go with fighter, just because it's like they're so like kind of basic that it's like all the choices you make feel like just minute tweaks to me that make a lot different characters, except for having magical power, but which you could do too if you're an Eldritch Knight or a Magic Adept Fiend or whatever. Anyways,
I feel the same way. I can play just about anything at any point in time, and I've got enough experience to be able to sit down at any role and feel confident and comfortable. In fact, I'm in talks with somebody as I'm going to be a guest on a game about a month from now, and we're trying to work out what I'm going to play, because it's not just like a typical one shot. He's actually having me come into the main campaign.
Oh, okay.
And he's like, well, what do you want to play? And I'm like, well, here's a couple ideas, but if that doesn't work, I'm open to just about anything. What do you need? What do you feel, is going to be best, mix? Because to my knowledge, it's like I'll be paired up with a fighter Eldritch Knight and a sorcerer, playing in a world where, like, if you use magic in public, it's like a crime. You're considered like an accursed kind of thing.
This isn't. I don't mean this like in a bad way towards that campaign or anything, but like I never understood. I never get the appeal of that, like, trope. Like, you know what I mean? I mean, and I'm not even saying any judgment about it.
Sure.
Just to me, it's just like, what is the appeal of that? Like,
so
is it just to tone down the magic use so
from a watcher's perspective? Like, I like the fact that the players have an obstacle of they can't just use magic to solve everything.
Okay, sure.
And two, like, the world has this view of stamping down magic users because they easily have the ability to cause trouble. And once you get enough power, you're limitless. Like, you can essentially do so much more that the populace can't, that there's no way to contend with you. So I don't know what made that particular GM do that for the particular game or world. But the players have really great chemistry. The story is really good.
Yeah, that's what's most important, for sure.
And I've been having a blast watching company.
Oh, is this the General Adventuring Company?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow, you really love those. That's probably going to be really fun for you. Yeah.
So yeah, it's going to be an absolute blast. So I believe we're going to be.
Did you say what you were playing? I'm sorry.
I don't know yet. As of right now, I'll be kind of getting a meeting with the GM.
Oh, okay.
Thursday, but the following Thursday, we'll kind of workshop some ideas and what have you.
Mm-hmm.
Dave's been on a one shot with them for the Sorcery Victims Unit.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yes,
which was a lot of fun. But I've got for characters.
I've been thinking that's such a ubiquitous question, what's your favorite class? But when you were talking about clerics and stuff too, and I was thinking, like, I guess to play in that way, I still have a hard time, but oddly enough, even though I'm not like a faithful person in real life, I do enjoy playing clerics. Maybe that's why, because it's fun to take on that perspective of like, no, like, this person really has a deity that they believe in and pray to, and they respond in kind. So it's fun to me to be like, well, what would they want me to do? Like, as their representative.
There are two ways to get into role play, in my opinion, of your particular character. Either you latch onto a trait of something that is within yourself, or something that you don't have any of, and you dive deeply into it.
Yeah.
So that's the way I look at character creation. And it's either like, for me, when I was younger, I like to get into the antithesis. I was not physical. I had no, not a whole lot of athleticism. So I was very much into playing martial characters. I liked fighters. I liked rangers.
People of action.
I read a lot of Drizzt novels, so fighting with
yeah, for sure,
was a big thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, mechanically, every once in a while, like, oh well, if you fight with a great weapon or a big weapon, you're going to do more damage. So I did that plenty of times.
Yeah.
But as I've kind of gotten older, I spent years actually studying the German longsword.
Mm-hmm. How have you kept that? Have you been doing that stuff?
I've only gone a handful of times recently. Back in October, I ran into one of my old sword buddies, and he's like, "Oh, we just kind of like got back together a couple months ago, and they didn't think like, oh, I haven't seen Ted in years. I should reach out." But I happened to run into him. It's a lot of fun. So it's Wednesday nights for us.
Cool.
When people can get together. So I've only been like half a dozen times, but it's definitely fun. It's
yeah, for sure. That would be fun.
Like, all right, muscles are sore because it's relearning things. Things like I managed to keep. But when
transforming your muscles into steel.
But when it comes to like, character choices now, well, I can play a fighter and, in fact do, like I've got a very fighty type character that I play on Thursdays. I do tend to like the more talky magical classes these days.
Yeah, that's true. I see. I guess, I would have to take back my answer of being fight, because like I also like that. And I mentioned it's like I love having like magical powers and just different things you can do, and no matter what game it is, it's like what lets me do like weird stuff. Like that's what
So like if you look at the characters that I've played, on the Tuesday nights, they've been diverse, and I've specifically
for sure
tried to run the whole gamut. Uralu was a fighter. Blue was very much a rogue. Strawn was a druid. Galathan was a
he was like a classic like spellcaster, robes, wasn't super physical at all, whereas like Strawn is just like, hey, he was a spellcaster, but he was kind of tough, and he put himself out there.
He was a druid, so like with the fact that there are 5 of us, you've got one role as one time in the seat as a GM, and then over the course of the other 4, I went into the 4 generic
archetypes, kind of
archetypes. That's the word I'm looking for.
Sure.
So like when it came back to Dave's run, I'm like, well, I played a rogue in Dave's with Blue, but I think all of them, like, you're pretty much either going to be rogue or you're going to be fighter. Like, there's not a whole lot of diversity within, class options at the moment for, a heist game.
Oh, you're right. Well, we were just talking before the stream, though. Surprisingly pretty nuanced. I find like the playbooks that,
Oh, yeah, completely. There's a lot of great options, but when it boils down to, my opinion, are you more rogue or are you more fighter?
Oh, right. Well, I guess I would say, there's lack of a medic playbook right now. There's no like cleric-y thing.
Right.
But, I got to say, I don't know if you looked at the lookout moves, but I would contend that it's somewhat wizardy in the sense of like, it's just like changing the situation or like the environment. Like I can like use something in advance. So like when we get there, it's a better situation, or like just change the conditions of what's going on at the moment.
Sure.
Like that's what most of my abilities are.
Okay. So, well, then maybe I'm wrong.
Or maybe I'm just justifying it to like, fit the peg into the hole. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
But I'm certainly not good at fighting or skills, really. And that is true. I don't have many like, like I can break in or I can do this, perform this thing.
Okay.
Interesting.
So Toxic had a question. If your PC is flirting with another PC, are you really flirting with the other player? I don't think
Nope.
I
mean, you could be. That's an individual question, but just on its face, no.
so like a PC to PC interaction is a PC to PC interaction. It could be extrapolated based off of, what I was talking about earlier of, the two players who are dating in real life, essentially falling in love all over again. That could be a fun thing to do if you play with your significant other at the table.
Mm-hmm.
It's a scenario of like, I don't watch a lot of games, but I watch like 3 to 4 different streams over the course of my week. And one of the games that I was watching, there's a pseudo triangle that was just kind of going on, and one player was essentially flirting with an NPC and a PC, all like kind of within the same confines. And in the NPC at one point in time was being run by the GM, but there was another situation where that NPC is being run by one of the other player characters due to some interesting scenarios that were happening in that particular game. So like it was kind of amusing to be like, all right, technically over the course of these 2 sessions, that player has technically flirted with 3 of the 6 people at this table. If you want to look at it,
Yeah.
that perspective.
Sure.
I don't think it's anything that is really disconcerting. And as with all things, doing lines and veils, and
Mm-hmm.
don't feel comfortable with bringing that kind of relationship into the table, or you personally are not comfortable with it, just be like, all right, with character, you can just say, I'm going to do this, or what have you, as opposed to actually role playing it out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a whole lot of experience with doing relationships at the table, and in fact, when it has happened, like it's just been cut and dry and describe this scene, and
right.
never get into any of the other kind of stuff.
Yeah, same here. I just don't find that stuff interesting, and it's in RPGs for me. So, like you said, it's a great reason to advocate for just however you want to have any kind of just communication with your group, whether it's just like we've been playing together on Tuesday night. It's like we're all pretty comfortable with each other. If somebody was uncomfortable, or you do a consent checklist, or
right.
Just,
well,
like you said, line X cards or whatever. That stuff is effective, I think.
In one of the Chaos Crew games, like it's over and done with. But Lisa and Robin's character, like they built a relationship over it. It wasn't anything where there was ready flirting kind of going on throughout. It was just like, oh, we get to the end and this happened based of what had happened previously. It's like, okay, that's a thing. I will say, as we're kind of getting into our last, 10 to,
wow, geez.
Last 10 to 15 minutes, if you happen to be in the Central to South Jersey area this weekend and you're looking for something to do, the COGS Steampunk Convention is this weekend coming up. Yours truly will be as just kind of a, general attendee.
That's cool.
I typically wear my Nerdarchy emblazoned armor, easy to spot. Look for the dude with the long beard and the N emblazoned upon his chest.
You can't miss it. It is very distinctive too. I've been at huge cons and been like, "There's Ted," like all the way. It's like you spy across the vendor hall.
Well, I mean, that's one of the reasons I do it. Like I go to these things.
Yeah.
I always bring a little bit of swag.
Praise me.
It's not about
I'm just
a chance to say hi or whatever have you. The Steampunk Convention, while it's gone through a different name, was one of the places where I ran into a fan where he didn't know who I was, didn't know whether I was Dave or Ted, but he recognized my voice while walking in front of me.
Oh wow, that's cool.
Which I thought was pretty cool.
Well, I mean, I'm certainly somebody, and I'm sure tons of other people are too, that just like listen to a lot of our Nerdarchy YouTube videos while they're doing other things or working. Probably know your voice pretty well.
Sure.
We have like 5,000 videos.
But I tend to have either Nerdarchy stickers or Nerdarchy,
Sure.
depending upon what's there. I might grab a couple of other things from the giveaway pile, and if you happen to snag me, you'll get some stuff.
So what kind of stuff goes on at a steampunk convention? I imagine like a cosplay vendors selling a lot of steampunk gear, probably like panel. Is there panels? Like, what do people talk about and stuff?
There is panels that can get into some costuming. There's panels that get into, more.
Oh yeah, that's true.
The steampunky kind of culture kind of things. There's definitely a lot of performers. So whether you
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Whether you want to watch, dancers or bands or other things, there's always a famous tea party that's done there.
Cons are pretty fan conventions of anything are just pretty neat if you think about it.
Absolutely.
It's like, they all kind of just have the same stuff. It's like, yeah, there's just a bunch of people that are into something, and they sell stuff and dress up and just talk about it and hang out with a bunch of people who are really into that thing too. That's pretty neat.
I don't know if they're going to be back, but in the the years previously, there was an aerialist that performed, and it's basically like,
oh, those are cool. Yeah.
Ceiling mounted ribbons that they do the whole.
Mm-hmm. That stuff's really cool.
Now, she's very impressive.
Always. I wrote a screenplay called The Aerialist that I was trying to sell many years ago.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
I learned something new.
Yeah.
Doug
I was like super into filmmaking. I have my own IMDb page. Really, for real. There's a trailer on there. There's a trailer for the movie on there and everything.
I'll have to check that out.
Like an onion, man.
All right. So last 10 minutes of transformation. Let's transform and get back to the project at hand. And one of the big things that I really wanted to talk about, so I need, we need the full 10 minutes to get into it, is monstrous transformation. And I don't mean necessarily like, oh, the human turns into a lycanthrope and that have you, but the transformation of a battlefield. And I'm not going to call out anything specific because I don't want to give away if you happen to be playing any of the pre-written adventures.
Oh, okay.
There are times where like you could be fighting a big bad and you defeat that and something happens and the fight continues. So with my Shadow of the Demon Lord, we kind of talked about it a little bit last week.
Yeah, that sounds like a fun game.
We were fighting this essentially charmed princess. Like she was a noblewoman's daughter that was possessed by a demon. And it didn't take much, but like we defeated the girl. The demon literally ripped its way out of her form. She was in pieces, not any way chance to bring back to life kind of thing. And the fight was able to continue. But like you could very much do that kind of thing. And definitely encounters set up where you can do that. So as a kind of a GM scenario, like if you have plans, I love things where the battle has the ability to change, whether it be your lair effects that are different every single round, which I know we've done. Some of our encounters have been kind of written that way.
Mm-hmm.
That you can be like, okay, well, once this thing is defeated, do this thing or use an entirely different stat block and the fight gets to continue. I fought in a game once where essentially like we had hard fight after hard fight after hard fight because literally every time like you defeated a thing, it would go through a transformation. It gained a whole new stat block, a whole new set of powers, and we had to keep fighting. It was exhaustive. And you've got the capabilities that, to really make a memorable encounter to do something like that. It's not, I've talked, countless times about how great doing combat in waves is, but you can do the exact same thing with a singular foe that goes through a transformation and
Oh yeah.
doesn't have to be done through a community. I can sit here, concentrate, and yell in order to gain more power. It can be done through another way. Either an external source grants them power, whether it's literally already pre-programmed that within is another form, and you defeat it, and the flesh sloughs off, and you
That's
now
such a gross. I hate that word. Not that, not like don't use it, but it's so evocative because it just sounds gross.
yes, and that's why I use it.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's a DM. That's a great DM word to have in your.
Yes.
Sam Mercer knows what I'm talking about. Yeah, his play. They do too on Critical Role. Every so often he'll use that, and they're just like, oh god.
The classic, death to undeath transformation is always a great one.
Oh yeah,
but you can do it in different ways.
I didn't want to cut you off. Did you have something you had?
So then, like, it could go even further, and okay, you fight the body, the flesh sloughs off, and now it's undead. You kill that form, and then the head just lifts off the body. The pieces of its jewelry kind of move and reform. Maybe it goes into its eyes, maybe it forms a crown on its head, and the fight continues even further. And you fight this, super undead skull, but it could be done any number of ways.
Yeah, just what you're saying. It's like, boom, you beat the thing, all of a sudden you're fighting like a Varghoul, 2 creeping claws, and like I think there's a kicking leg thing or something. I mean, just to use the stat blocks, like boom, there you go. You already. So you led this off. You used the key phrase that I had a bullet point of was Monstrous transformation. That's actually a really cool section in Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft. Of like for making your own Dark Lord, and it has a bunch of ideas for just those things you're saying. They're gory and evocative. So this one is awesome, and this sounds great because this is the kind of thing that's like turns the fight into like maybe they get away pretty easily. So the Dark Lord's body disintegrates, leaving only an animate heart, hand, gory ooze, or a nervous system that must attach to new temporary bodies. And like my first thought was like, I just imagine like a nervous system like slinking away into the night. It's like that'd be pretty hard to see and like really disturbing looking. I mean, just like all the nerves and like maybe like the eyeballs and a brain or something. Just like, oh god, that's freaking terrifying to me. It just, there's a whole bunch of things like that.
I would definitely be bothered by a nervous system slinking off into the night.
But what a cool villain too, because it's like it's like then it has to attach to something else. So it could be anything. It's very creepy. From my own experience, it wasn't so much a creature transforming as its death transformed the campaign quite a bit, because in my Spelljammer campaign that I ran for many years, one of the main antagonists were like these void dragons from like they came from like a dark space, to like destroy everything. And when they die, they release a lot of extra planar energy, and it might like plane shift nearby creatures. And they fought one with like a whole bunch of their crew and everything too, like NPCs. And so when they defeated one, I rolled the die and it was like 2 of the PCs out of 5 and like 4 NPCs were flung into another plane. And I let them it all be the same plane, at least. It's no different ones. They all wound up in hell.
Oh jeez.
Yeah, they just randomly rolled, and it was like, yeah, let's just roll with it. It was the end of a session. So that was, and then so the next the other players who weren't there played their NPC crew members, who they all knew, of course, because I ran their crew for many years. So that was a lot of fun. But and then I had them come. When they got out, they came right back to like a climactic battle on like a major. It was like what do you call it? Like focus of civilization.
Sure.
In material plane, they like popped out of a portal just in time to join in that battle. It was pretty cool.
So the there's lots of ways to a transformation, but I would be remiss in saying there's a transformation that players can do should you decide to take the right subclass. So in the Under the Dome game, I am playing an elemental mutation sorcerer.
Mm.
You can activate your mutation, which, depending upon what you choose, determines what kind of powers you get when you activate the thing.
Is that from one of our own books?
That's on the website.
Oh, okay. Oh, is that what Stephen came up with?
Yep. That's
okay.
So I was
I remember it now.
And I'm looking to, showcase and show things that we are making. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna play this one here. It was between that one and another Nerdarchy sorcerer.
Mm-hmm.
But I chose that one. So now like I get a increased armor class whenever I put on my crystalline skin. And then I add my charisma modifier to damage whenever I do fire or lightning.
That sounds really cool for that campaign too, with the crystalline skin, because it's like it has to do a lot with crystals. So it's really
yes. Yeah. So definitely a lot of fun. Definitely enjoying the heck out of that game. Even though I question how the flip some of these things, managed to happen, because most of us are just complete idiots. We have
characters.
The characters, yeah. Players are awesome. I've been gaming with this group for a long time.
Yeah.
But we have.
Oh, that's fun to play a group of idiots, though, especially when you're kind of like savvy players that know you're playing characters who are supposed to be kind of like foolish.
We have an artificer who's a genius, and then everybody else either has an 8 or a 10 intelligence.
Yeah, that's great. Well, it's just average. Yeah, it's just average in time. That sounds like a lot of fun.
And I will leave off with one final transformation that wound up happening. We were trying to find information, and in the city that can be tough when you're basically broke and there's not a ready access of spellcaster markets that you could be like, hey, can I hire you to cast locate person or locate object? So we were pointed towards a woman who occasionally has the ability to perform miracles, but it comes at a cost. And of course, as soon as Dave said that, I'm like, I know exactly what he's talking about. So we went to Miracle Maggie, and this old woman in a very spellcastery friendly shop, with things in jars all over the place. And long story short, yep, she can do what we're looking for. We just have to pay a price. And the price was she put her fingers kind of phasing into the goblin skull, and he is now pregnant in his brain.
He thinks he is, or is it?
No, he's the price was a baby.
In your brain?
The hags want a baby, and the process was her doing that, and he instantly felt a swelling within his own head, like like just pressure.
Mm-hmm.
And he asked, like, well, what happens? Like, well, sometimes when I do this, I get pregnant. Sometimes the guy gets pregnant. Sometimes both. We don't know.
Huh, that's interesting. You knew that was going to happen? That sounds pretty weird.
Well, no, I knew that it was going to be a hag.
Oh, I was like, wow, that's a pretty specific guess, man.
No. When you say there's a woman that can perform miracles, and you walk into a shop and an old woman has got lots of jars all over the place, I'm pretty sure it's a hag. That's how it goes. And then when the sisters came out, it's like, oh, this is a freaking coven. Yay. But yeah, I was not expecting the goblin to get pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
But it was quite comical when I see, scrolling through Facebook, my friend posted like, hey, sometimes you roll a D6 and you get pregnant. Well, that's what happened to me. It's like, so that is a transformation that can happen. And Usually it happens to, one particular type of character, not another type of gender. But hey, you know what?
It's magic, man.
When magic happens, all kinds of craziness can follow suit. But so yep, my male goblin barbarian companion is carrying a hag's child in his
that wasn't your character?
No, not my character. I'm playing the
elemental. Oh, you're a Simic hybrid. That's right.
Yeah, I'm a Simic hybrid, elemental mutation, sorcerer, goblin barbarian.
Is that Mark?
No, it's Josh.
Oh, okay.
Mark is playing the Goliath barbarian.
He likes martial characters, huh?
Yeah, yes, he does.
Does he just not want to deal with like all the spells and stuff? Is it? I don't mean that in a bad way. It's like I totally get it. Where you're just like, whatever, man. I don't want to.
He played a warlock in my game, and after
not much to manage there.
After 18 sessions, he finally learned that warlocks don't have enough spell slots. After 16 sessions, and just casting all the spells he wanted. I'm like, do you have any spell slots left? Like, what do you mean?
You know what? I only played Tabitha's the only warlock I played in 5e, and I feel like I had like a whole arc of feeling about that. And to me, the joy was taking advantage of switching out your spells when you level up. Because it's like, okay, I played that, I cast that a couple times, and it's like now my patron gave me some other weird thing that I just like woke up with. Now I can do this and stuff, and just it's like I was adapting to the campaign as well. It's just like, well, what do I want to be able to do? It's like this, like Everett's Black Tentacles. Like, that's not really going to do anything for me. Dream though, I could use that.
Sure.
Like that was sure. So that was the fun of the warlock to me. It's changing them when you could.
Yeah, you can have a lot of fun if you do that. If you're not into the let's just do the staple thing.
Yeah. Because you always got Eldritch Blast. That's what I kind of learned. I resisted it so much. It was like, no, that's what's cool about it. It's like you can change your mind. It's like, yeah, maybe this level I don't have any other combat thing. I'll just Eldritch Blast everything. Whatever. Right. It's still awesome.
It indeed it is. So with that, we're 6 minutes past the mark here. Having a lot of fun talking about transformation. So tomorrow night we're gonna have another episode of Zoo Mafia, and we'll have to try and see how we can get Oliver some help because we had some trouble last week. I imagine Dave is going to be back on Friday with another live chat, and So until next time,
stay nerdy.